Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. Alright, so today I'm going to be painting Flower and Butterfly, and I'm sipping on some cherry tea. And if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel, and that you also check out my Patreon page where you'll find additional painting perks, including this kind of perk. So this painting that I've done today is inspired by a photograph that was submitted by one of my patrons by the name of Raylyn Appleby, for one of my new perks that I have available for my Patreons, which I like to call Paint My Photo. So I have these events every now and again where I put out a call for my Patreons to submit photos, and I will select certain ones to turn into painting tutorials on YouTube. So it's a really cool benefit to as part of my Patreon program. So if you're interested in learning more, or how you could as well submit one of your photos to me, you can find all of that information down below in the video description. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a stretched and primed 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're painting along, you could certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, Mars black, green oxide, chrome yellow, fluorescent pink, ultramarine blue, and burnt umber, which I like to call brown. And of course you can switch those up as well. For my tools today, I have a white piece of chalk that I'll be using for some drawing. And then I have 3 brushes from my personal brush line, which is Michelle the Painter brushes. I have a 1-inch wide flat bristle brush. I have a number 4 round synthetic brush, and I have a number 1 round synthetic brush. And I will refer to these as small, medium, and large as we go through the painting process. And let's see what else. If you're painting along with me, you're probably going to want to have a cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as, I dropped my paper towel, a paper towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I will be providing you with a few additional resources that can help you throughout your painting process. One of them is a link to my shop where you could purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using, from the same size and type of canvas to the paints and the brushes and all the good stuff in between. You could also purchase individual things like my brushes from my brush line. You can get that in my shop. So that's there. There's also a link where you can download a free image of the final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. Alright, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to paint a base coat onto the canvas. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush. The colors that I'm going to use are blue, green, yellow, and black. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a gradient of sorts where it's going to allow me, as I build my grass and all of the foliage type of details, it's going to allow me to put some good depth in the composition. So I'm going to be using green and blue at the top. Then I'll fade it into green and yellow, and then back to green and some green and black. So we're going to create this gradient that when we start to build our texture and stuff on top of it, we'll be able to use these tones to build it in a more natural way. So I'm going to start with some green and blue on my brush at the same time, about equal parts of both. And I'm just going to be going back and forth, left to right. I don't need to do any fancy brush stroke. I don't even need it to blend in 100%. I'm just using this as the base coat behind all of my other information that I'm going to be putting on there. So again, this is green and blue, and then I'm going to just start picking up green without washing my brush. And this is going to come down, I would say maybe about a third of the way down the canvas. And again, nothing fancy. You'll see I use a lot of long broad brush strokes back and forth, left to right. That'll just give me a little bit smoother of a look, but it's not super important. Now on my dirty brush, I'm picking up some yellow. So the yellow is going to bring some vibrant tones into the center area of that canvas. And again, because I didn't brush or wash my brush, I'm working some of that green into the yellow and making it have these beautiful like summer grass type of tones. So now that I've got that, I'm a little bit past the halfway point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start picking back up green paint on my dirty brush. And again, just kind of intermingling it with that yellowish type of area. I'm going to bring this down pretty far, and then I'm going to start introducing some black into it so I can get some depth in the bottom part of my canvas to allow for some good kind of deep in focus type of grass. I think actually I'm going to pick up a little bit more yellow in through here, just give myself a couple more of those bright sunshiny summer grass type of tones. So something like that. And now I'm going to start picking up a little bit of black, and I'm going to get some dark tones down at the bottom of the canvas. I'm going to pick up some yellow too. That black and the yellow always makes for a nice rich green type of a tone. So this is black and yellow down at the bottom of my canvas. And then once I've got that done, I am going to be using this same brush for the next steps. So once you've got this done, if you want, you can go back and forth like I'm doing, just get it to blend in a little bit more, but that's not of any type of importance to do that. It's just something that my painterly brain likes to do. And then once I've got that done, I'm going to wash and dry this large brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be painting the out of focus landscape behind our flower and our butterfly. I'm using my large bristle brush. The colors that I'm going to use are blue, green, yellow, white, maybe some black, and maybe a little bit of brown. So maybe all the colors. I'll call them out as I use them. What I'm depicting here is I'm going off of a photo reference that has a very close-up image of a flower and a butterfly. So everything else around them is, in essence, out of focus because so close up on those two objects that all the background stuff is going to appear to be kind of out of focus, especially in a photograph. We're going to put a couple of almost in focus pieces of grass near it, but for the most part, everything behind it is kind of out of focus. That being said, I do still want to add some depth into the image. So I'm going to be adding depth with a little bit of a different color palette, being with more blue up at the top. And also I'm going to be making my brush strokes a little bit different from the top of my canvas to the bottom of my canvas. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I do recommend that before you start this step that you make sure that your canvas is dry. So this is that time where you get to take an extra long break if you'd like to. Or you can find some kind of fun fanning method to get it dry, or you can do as I did and just whip out a blow dryer and get it dry that way. So I'm going to be starting at the top of my canvas and working my way down. I'm going to be using a lot of kind of rubbing type of brush strokes along the way. Sometimes I might use a stippling type of effect, which is dotting, and I was going to say at times I might be using a directional kind of pull-up type of a brush stroke, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to do that or not. So I'll let you know as I go through it. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to be making little dark areas and then little light areas to represent like a background forest type of appearance. So again, I'm picking up that blue and a little bit of green. And I'm just going to kind of start making these little dark marks throughout this area. I do have my base coat that's on there that will definitely act as a good foundation for this, but as I'm going through this process, you can see I'm kind of leaving some blue spots and I'm making some green spots. I'm just kind of tapping, maybe even rubbing it a little bit in a kind of a circular type of motion, but nothing super fancy, just kind of tapping it in there. Now I'm going to add a little bit of lighter tones into it. So I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit of green and white. And when I say a tiny bit, just an itty tiny bit on the tip of my brush. And this is going to give me just a couple of little lighter pops of colors throughout this area. Again, hardly anything. I'm not over blending it. I'm just taking it and allowing for these little lighter marks to give the illusion that there's maybe some treetops or something within that area. So as I work my way down in through here, I'm going to stop using that blue. Even though I still have some blue underneath here, that'll just add to the colors I'm going to put on top of it, but I'm not going to be picking up very much more blue, I don't think. So right now, I'm just going to pick up some green on my brush, and I'm going to give myself some more of these green type of marks right on top of what I did before. Again, I'm not going for any really detailed type of appearance. I'm just going for a second layer in through here that's going to give me that out of focus type of look that I'm going for. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of yellow and white on my dirty brush and give myself, similar to how I did the white on top of here, now I've got a little bit of yellow and white on my brush. That's going to give me some more pops of kind of highlighted foliage or greenery within that that meadow or whatever it is that is sitting behind our beautiful butterfly. And again, it doesn't have to be anything perfect. We're just kind of given the illusion of this bright summer kind of appearance. I just picked up some yellow and white, and I'm going to start adding these lighter colors down in through here. So this again is yellow and white, and now I'm starting to use kind of a bigger, broader brush stroke as it's coming down the canvas, and it's allowing for these larger, kind of softer type of areas. Maybe this is a little meadow of sorts coming down, and it's going a little bit more into the focus of the sun of sorts. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of my yellow and white. Maybe I'm going to bring big area down in through here, kind of in the, we'll call this the grassy, meadowy kind of area. And again, I'm following a color pattern that I'm seeing in a photograph. You could certainly, as you're building yours, you could obviously emulate the color pattern that I'm using, or you could make one up in your imagination, whatever works for you. So a little bit more green on these sides over here, so I'm just going to pick up a little bit more green on my dirty brush and just give myself these little darker areas over on the left and the right. And again, I'm just kind of tapping using a very carefree kind of brush stroke. I may after this is all said and done, I just picked up a little bit more yellow. I may even do another pass with a similar thought process just to get another layer on here, but I'm thinking it's looking pretty good the way that it is. But if I did feel that I wanted more detail to it, I could certainly do that. I'm picking up more green and yellow as I come into this center area, and you can see as I'm doing this, I'm almost kind of just stippling it or dotting it into the canvas in order to give it this soft appearance, but it's still taking on some of those colors that we had underneath. You could even, if you wanted to, you could bring in a little bit of the blue. I know that the blue will set it back farther, but depending on what color, yellow or green you're using, if you wanted to add little deeper tones, the blue will make it look like there's more shadowy kind of areas. You can certainly do that. It'll also turn your yellow into a different shade of green if you use the blue and the yellow together, so you can explore those kind of aspects to it. I'm thinking that that's looking pretty good. As I come down in through here, I kind of want the tones to get a little deeper and maybe more saturated. So I think I'm actually going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to pick up some green, and I'm going to get that on in through here, but I might actually add a new shade of green into here. So let me just kind of get some of this green oxide on in through here, because I feel like I want to have some deeper, more saturated tones. My green tends to be on the earthy side. It's got some really earthy tones to it. And if I want to go for something that is a little bit more saturated in that summertime green, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to make myself a green with my black and yellow. So I can take a touch of black and put it into my yellow, and it makes this beautiful, vibrant green tone. So I think I'm going to do that, maybe with a touch of blue in it too. Yeah, that's going to give me a nice green tone that I'd like. There we go. That looks nice and pretty. Maybe steal a little bit more of this over here. So you can play with, different tones of your colors by, exploring color theory. So blue and yellow makes green. This black added to vibrant yellow will make a green. So you can play with these different tones as you're going through your painting process, and you can get these varying shades. I think I'm going to pull a little bit of black and green also, so I can get some extra deepness in some of this grass. So there we go. That'll get me those deep tones that I'm looking for. And you could use shades of like phthalo green and other shades of green that are appealing to you. So I'm just kind of exploring all the greens that I have on my palette right now, just getting this to have some fun dimension in it. And again, just bringing this all the way down to the bottom with a second coat on here, and we'll add some additional details to it, but this is just going to give us our first kind of real pass on this this fold or the grass. I'm picking up a little bit more black and my green to get this bottom part to have some good depth in it. It's looking pretty good. A little bit more green, and again, just kind of swirling it around, giving me these great areas. I'm going to actually put a little bit more. I like what happened up in through here, so I kind of want to pull some of that green, yellow, and white type of tones, maybe a little bit down in through here. So this is my green, yellow, and white, just a little bit of lightness down in through here. And again, I'm going to add more lightness as I build this a little bit more, but in my head I'm still thinking this is all out of focus. I don't really need to do a ton right now in order to get some good dimension. I just want to have a nice second coat on here, make it look nice and out of focus. And then we're going to be using I think we're going to use I'm going to use I'm going to use this brush for the next step. I'm like, what am I going to do for the next step? I think I want to use this brush again for the next step. So once you've got this layer done, you can wash and dry the large brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the more in focus type of grassy stuff. So I might do another little pass on some of this mid grass in through here because I feel like I want a little bit more vibrant of a green tone in there. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush for most of the time, but I might tap into my medium brush as well for some of there's a couple of longer pieces of grass that I want to put over on this right hand area, so I might need this brush to do that. But before I get started, I do want to again mention to have your canvas dry. It'll be easier to do this layer with that. And also I did pre-mix myself another green tone, so I'm going to call this like my we'll call it like a phthalo green, but it's not as blue as phthalo green gets, but it's darn near close. So on my palette here, this is we'll call it, should I call it phthalo green? Let's call it like more of a, yeah, we'll just call it phthalo green. It's close enough. It might be a little bit more green than phthalo green is. But anyways, so how I got to this is just blue and yellow. So I mixed a lot of yellow with just a little bit of blue, and that gives me this real vibrant grass green tone, maybe a little bit more blue in there to get it to the other shade that I have. And this is going to speak really nicely within the rest of the grass that I have, just to give it a little bit deeper of a tone for a more saturated tone for the grass. As mine dried, I just thought it was a little bit too earthy of a tone to emulate the photo that I'm going off of. So we're just going to switch it up just a little bit, give us a more vibrant green in through here. So once I have that, what I'm going to do is kind of put it in all the places that I want it. So I've got my vibrant green in through here. I'm going to come up probably about a third of the way up my canvas. So if this is about halfway and this is about a quarter way, somewhere in through here, I'm going to just kind of tap a whole bunch of this in this central area, giving myself this more lush type of green effect. And I'm going to put a little bit of this up top as well, but this is just going to give me some nice deep tones into the grassy area, providing me with more representational of the photo reference that I'm using. So as I develop these kind of paintings whereby I am using a photo reference to guide me, I do like, especially when I'm creating these, to give it the authentic colors that I'm seeing, so that way it'll represent that paint or that photograph really nice and well. And again, as I go up towards the top, I don't need it to be a lot. I'm just kind of dabbing this in here and there, giving it those little hues. My butterfly is going to be really huge here, and my flower is going to be really huge here, so I don't really need a ton of that in through those areas, but I do want, I think, a little bit up in this background area as well. I'm really digging this color, so I'm going to just kind of put it quite a few places to, again, speak to that photograph that I'm using. So something like this works out, and then I'm going to go down to that in focus grass that I was talking about, which is what I was supposed to be doing to begin with. So I'm going to bring in some more of this new bright green color, and now as I'm down towards this bottom, I'm going to be using more of a kind of upward type of brush stroke with the dabbing, and this is going to give me more in focus type of texture. Again, I don't need it to be super in focus. I just want it to take on some closer texture that makes it look like it's closer to the viewer. So I'm using more in some of these areas, almost like a little pull-up type of a brush stroke. I'm allowing for some dark areas to stay and some bright areas to stay. So again, it's helping to translate that photo that I'm using. So that's looking pretty good. Now I want a little bit lighter tones before I start adding those couple of pieces of grass that are going to be kind of shooting up here. So I just added a bit of yellow and white to my brush, to my dirty brush, and I'm going to start kind of giving myself little bits of extra texture in through here. And again, this is yellow and white on my dirty brush. Just kind of, you can see how as I'm adding these lighter tones, you can see those with the textural brush stroke that I'm using, it's allowing for you to see kind of the tips of those pieces of grass. Again, I'm still wanting this to be out of focus, so I don't want to add tons and tons of texture in through here or in focus kind of texture. I'm really just looking to give an out of focus kind of color pattern, giving these bright yellow tones, yellow green kind of summery tones, maybe some down in through here. And then I'm going to add some really bright pieces of grass in a second here. When I build these kind of landscape grassy type of areas or textural stuff, it's really hard for me to stop because I love these textural elements and providing that depth and dimension in it. So as I'm going through these, if you notice I have a hard time stopping, it's because I really just love doing it. As I'm going to put a little bit lighter stuff up at top. I know I was just going to go do the in focus stuff down at the bottom, but as I'm adding these lighter tones, I feel like they would definitely also work up in through here as that meadow is kind of reaching the forest line. So as you see it, just do it. You know, if you're finding that one color is working well and you feel that it could benefit you if you used it in other areas, then go for it. Like I feel like even up here could use a little bit of lightness, so or just kind of popping it in through there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of really big pieces of grass. I think I am going to switch my brush to my medium brush to put these big long pieces of grass in through here. I'm going to start with that phthalo green type of a color, just so I can kind of put them in place. They might not even be super evident when I first put them in place, but once I've got them in, I can kind of get the tonal value to be one that'll allow you to see them. So I'm just kind of adding these big, huge ones. There's going to be flowers coming off of these guys. These are just kind of bunched up in this area, nearing where the big flower is. Maybe we've got one or two kind of off on this side. And then once I've got that, I can kind of play with how light or dark they are. So as they go into like a darker region, you can just pick up a little bit of yellow and white and put maybe a little bit more yellow there, and put the area that's in the dark section lighter, and the area that's in the light section is dark. So that will help you to be able to see them. So again, yellow and white is just kind of going on my brush to get some of these to pop a little bit more. So yellow and white. So I have them in place, but now to get them to be more visible, I'm just adding some yellow and white kind of highlights to them. And then once I've got that, I can add little extra pieces of grass. So I can take this, and there's one that kind of comes off like this. So I could add, this is the phthalo green, white, and yellow, and I can just kind of pop in these extra little pieces of grass that just kind of shoot off from these little guys every now and again. Maybe, I think this is going to hide behind the flower. I've got maybe one coming off in through here. So just have fun with those. You don't have to do it exactly as I'm doing it. This is just, again, I'm kind of emulating what I'm seeing in the photo reference, but you could certainly make yours whatever way that you want. And then I'm going to also, while I'm kind of tackling these, I'm going to put in place, there's just a couple little yellow flowers up in through here. So I just want to put a white base on them right now. And then in a minute, we'll come back and make them bright and yellow. But I'm just going to kind of put these white bases on a couple of these. These are like kind of out of focus as well. But I just kind of want to have this white base underneath them. So as I build them, I want them to be really yellow. So in order for that to happen, I want to have this kind of light base to them. And you could have lots of these little flowers. You could have more than I'm having. I'm kind of using my creative license here and adding maybe one or two more than are in the photo, but I think that they're real nice, cool accents. So that's what I'm doing. And then we're going to use our piece of chalk for the next step. So once you've got this stage done, you can put all your brushes away, take out a drawing utensil, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be drawing an outline for our flower, our main flower, and the butterfly. I'm going to be using my piece of chalk. You could certainly use any drawing utensil that is comfortable to you. I'm going to be guiding you through a series of markers and basic shapes, and by the time we're done connecting our markers and making our basic shapes, we'll be having something that has some nice just simple shapes, no fine-tuned detail that'll help us through the painting process. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw my flower. What I'm going to guide you through is finding the center of your canvas. So top to bottom, whatever size canvas you're using, top to bottom, left to right, the center of my canvas is somewhere in this vicinity. So once I've found myself the center of my canvas, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up almost about an inch from that, make a marker, and then about another inch, inch and a half from that, make another marker. This is going to be the top center of my flower. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to come out to the right about 2 inches, make myself a marker, and then I'm going to come out to the left maybe about an inch and a half and go up about an inch and make myself a marker, or a half of an inch, somewhere in through here. What I just gave you is 4 markers that are going to be the length and the height of that center of the flower. It's going to be oval, that's tipped a little bit. So now I'm going to just take those 4 markers and connect them with this little bumpy kind of a line. Something like this is going to give me my, my center of the top of my flower, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in from here just a little bit, maybe about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch, give myself a little inward curve like that. And then on this side over here, I'm going to do something similar like that. I'm now going to come down from this marker about an inch and a half, somewhere in through here, and then come over to the right, just below there, somewhere in through here. I can connect here to here with a little bit of a curved line, and then I'm going to come over to the left. I would say almost 3 inches. I'm past this corner here, so a little bit past this corner and straight across from here, and then go up about 1/2 of an inch to an inch, just a little bit higher than that. Now I'm going to connect here to here like that. So again, we're kind of tipping the flower a little bit. We're going to put our petals, the main petals, on next. And they're going to shoot far out from the left to the right, but we're going to see the colored line of the petals right in through here. So what I'm going to do is from here to here, I'm just going to kind of connect this with like a little wavy type of a line. And then I'm going to keep going with a long kind of one slightly curved line out to here. So this is about halfway between here and the edge of my canvas, and it's a little bit lower than there. And then what I'm going to do is over on this left-hand side, I'm going to go up just a little bit like this, give myself a little bit of a curve, and then just kind of come back to here with a little bit of a curve. And now I'm going to connect this to here with a whole bunch of little bumps. So something like this. And then as soon as I get right about here, I'll do one almost straight line. It can have a little bit of a curve in it, but these will be the tips of the petals that are looking straight at the viewer. Now I'm going to put a couple of petals over on this right hand side, so I can take, there's going to be a little petal back there. I'm going to have a petal in through here, and then I'll have maybe another little petal or a big petal somewhere back in through here. I think I'm going to have another little one maybe kind of shooting off of here. So I have on top of here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, you don't have to have exactly the same number as I do. Again, I'm just emulating a photograph, but you can have as many as you want. So from here, I'm going to do one little one like this. I'm going to do another little one like that. I'm going to come up from here a little bit, make this big, huge one that's coming up maybe about 1.5 inches away from the edge of my canvas, something like this, and it meets back right about in through here. Then I have another one in through here, like that. And that's all I'm going to do for the petals and the center of that. I need to give myself a bottom to the flower. So this bottom is going to be connected to this section in through here, or at about the same width. So what you'll do is kind of imagine this going right through those petals or behind it and giving yourself a mark there. And then same thing on this side. Imagine it going right behind there, give yourself a mark there. I'm going to come down to the bottom of my canvas, and if this is the center of the bottom, I'm going to be about 1/4 way or halfway between that and the edge of my canvas, somewhere in through here. I'm going to give myself 2 marks that are about I would say maybe about 1/2 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch away from each other. And then I'm going to connect here to here. I'm going to bring it down like this, but I'm kind of giving myself almost like the shape of a vase, and then bringing this down like that. And then same thing over here, bring it in through here and then down like this. And this doesn't have to be super straight. It's got a little bit of a bend in it, which is great. So that's all I'm going to do for my flower. My butterfly is huge. So I'm going to find myself, I'm going to go kind of straight up from my center. And again, this is just giving you a point of reference. So I'm going to go straight up from that, find myself the top of my flower. I'm going to go up about 1/2 of an inch and over to the left about 1/2 of an inch to an inch. This is where I'm going to start my butterfly. And then what I'm doing is I'm going to go up to the top of my canvas, and I'm going to find myself the right hand corner, and I'm going to come in almost 1/4 of the way. So again, if this is halfway, this is 1/4 way, I'm a little to the right of that, and then down about 3 inches, somewhere in this vicinity. And you can also kind of see where it is in reference to the flower. I'm kind of by, at about the same width as that petal in through there. I'm going to connect here to here with just a long kind of little curve of a line, not a super straight line, but a little curve, something like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come directly up from here until I'm almost halfway between that and the top of my canvas. A little bit shy. This would be about halfway, so I'm a little bit shy of that. Make myself another marker. I'm going to connect here to here with a bunch of little bumps. So like just make a whole bunch of little kind of bumpy things. And then I'm going to come over to the left from here. If this is the edge of my canvas and this is about halfway between this and the edge, I'm over maybe about another inch and then down just a little bit. So it's almost directly like as high as here. I'm going to connect here to here with not a super straight line, just kind of bring it like this, maybe curve it a little bit, something like that. Then I'm going to connect here to here with another bumpy line. So I'm going to take from here and I'm going to bump it up just a little bit like this, and then kind of curve it around like this. So I left this spot in through here because this is kind of where the top wing meets the bottom wing, and it's also where we're going to kind of get that back wing to emerge as well. So we'll call this like our intersecting point. So from here, I'm going to make myself a little line in through there. I'm now going to come about halfway between here and the end of my butterfly, so somewhere about here, and go straight up from that about 1.5 inches away from the edge of my canvas, like that. I'll connect here to here, and I'm going to curve this edge just a little bit. Now I'm going to come down from here, maybe about, I would say, 1.5 inches to 2 inches, somewhere in through here, and give myself kind of a line like that. I'll curve this up like that, and then I'm going to come up this corner just a little bit like that, and I'll meet this with a bump and just a little, I guess I didn't even need that little bumpy thing at the end, but something like that. And that's all I'm going to do for my outline of my flower and my butterfly. We're going to use our medium brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put your drawing utensil away, take out a medium paintbrush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the base coat for the flower and the butterfly. I'm using my medium brush. The colors I'm using are yellow, pink, white, brown, my phthalo green, and black. And I'm going to be creating a soft kind of magenta type of a color to start my petals with. I'll be using black for the bulbous part of in through here. We're going to create a custom orangey color for some of the topper of our flower as well as our butterfly. We'll create a light yellow for the top part in through here, and then we'll be using our phthalo green as a base for there. So I think I'm just going to start with my dark stuff, and we'll work our way to the light. I'm going to pick up some black paint on my brush, and I'm going to create a, I'm going to paint this interior part black. I know that I'm going to have an area where this section meets these top this top part of the flower in through here. So I'm just going to kind of, where it has these bends in through here, I'm just going to kind of tap my brush so it's almost like polka dotty in through there, and when I add those other colors into it, it'll make sense and it'll blend well and give me lots of good dimension. I'm going to bring this bottom part right down to that center section of where the petals are going to be. And again, just kind of bringing this to the edge, and then I'll just kind of polka dot it in through. Even though I can see some of that green behind it right now, I'm cool with that. I'm gonna add some other information to it in a little bit. Then underneath here, I'm gonna bring the black to right about where it starts to curve down that stem. So I'm just gonna paint it flat black. I don't need to do any special anything here. We'll add a little bit of dimension later on down the road, but right now just giving myself a nice deep base, so when I do add my details, it'll look pretty cool. It'll give me that that dark base to create some great shadowy and effects underneath that flower. So just bring this right to in through here, and then the stem I'm going to do with my phthalo green, but I don't need to wash my brush because I can have different shades. So I'm just going to pick that up. And again, this is my pre-mixed phthalo green. You could certainly be using the already tubed phthalo green if you want to. I just pre-mixed it because it wasn't one of the colors that I had in my palette when I was thinking about what colors I was going to be using for this painting. So we just mixed it on the fly, and we've got this great representational color that is working just well, just nicely, as nice as I want it to work for the painting. So I'm just coming down this stem with the remnants of the black that were on my brush, plus that custom phthalo green that I created. And of course we'll put more detail on this later, but this just gets us started. So now that I've got that, I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to create myself a couple of custom colors. A few. We're going with 3 custom colors for the next 3 sections. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I've got my custom colors created already on my palette. So my first one I'm going for is a light yellow color, which I have right here. How I got to that is yellow and white. So about, I would say, maybe equal parts. I gotta find some clean yellow here. Equal parts of yellow and white is going to give you this nice pastel yellow with some good opacity in it, which is where I want to start for my yellow pieces. That's going to be one color. This is going to be another color. How I got to this, and I'm not washing my brush because I got to it by using pink, yellow, and white. So I used a lot of pink and a lot of yellow, which is going to create kind of this orangey type of a tone. And then I added a little bit of white to, again, help with the opacity of it. So we'll be using this as the base coat for our butterfly, as well as some of the pieces of the flower. And then the third color that I'm going for is a kind of a soft magenta type of color, which is right here. How I got to this color was a lot of pink, a little bit of brown, which neutralizes it a little bit, and a touch of white. Again, it's mostly pink with just a tiny bit of brown and a tiny bit of white in it, and that's going to bring you into this nice kind of soft magenta color. And again, it doesn't have to be exactly as mine. We're going to be adding other colors to it later. This is just, again, going to start the process. So I'm going to start with my petals first with this magenta because it's on my brush. I'm going to put it over on every place that I want there to be a petal, and you can certainly go right to the edge of your chalk mark. I know for me, sometimes I will leave a little bit of the evidence of my guidelines because it helps me to not make a particular object too big through the painting process. But if you feel confident and you don't need your guidelines, you can certainly just kind of paint right over them. That'll be a judgment call on your part. And I know that my paint is transparent or translucent, which means we can see through it. So I know during this particular step, I'm still going to be able to see some of my background underneath here, which I'm okay with because I know I've got other steps to go that will help me to cover up any of that background information. So I'm okay with it being transparent at this point. In through here, just color in this area. We'll get these petals to separate as much as they need to be separated on a future step. So don't worry about putting any detail in these right now. Just color in that section, and of course in a section where your paint is so high in contrast with the color next to it, you can certainly get rid of your chalk marks, bring it right to that chalk mark, because that color close to it is in essence your guideline. And then I'm going to go ahead and color in these little petals over on this side. And then the other two sections, or the other two colors that we created, are going to be for the butterfly and the start of the center. Ooh, that petal's going to grow a little bit bigger. It's all right by me. The start of the center of the flower. So I've got this going on in through here, just bringing it right to the center. Going to get this little guy here, and then I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to go in for the orange sections next. So that's going to be this little section underneath here, as well as, and you can kind of put that paint on pretty darn heavy. Again, it's going to see some of the background underneath it. I'm just kind of dotting it right now to just have some heavier little sections in through here where it meets that black. I'm definitely just kind of dotting it. Wherever I see the little green spots, I'm just dotting it with a little bit of the orange. And if I don't hit them all on this step, again, it's okay, because we've got more to come. So just kind of dotting it in through there. I'm also going to put a little bit of this in the center of the flower in through here. So a little bit in through here is going to help me to translate that. Put a little bit over in through here. That's good. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the whole butterfly with this color. So I just kind of loaded my brush with it. Again, I'm not quite sure why I needed to put this line in here, but because I didn't put one on the other side. But if you want to keep that, great. If not, no worries. I will talk you through later on how to get those wings to separate from one another. But I am going to leave this particular one in through here. And I'm kind of going to do, I think, a thinner coat of this orange where it's not super duper heavy and thick. Because I kind of want it to look a little soft, so I'm just going to brush it out so it keeps some of that transparency to it. But if you want yours super orange at this point, you can certainly bring yours all the way orange, and then again just bringing it right to that line in through there, and then bringing it right to the edges. Again, this is just the first coat, and we have lots to go on it. This is going to just get us started. And it will turn a little bit, of course, darker and or maybe a little bit browner on top of that background. And that's my intent for this particular step, to give that nice, natural, kind of neutral orange tone to the butterfly. Again, just going off of what I'm seeing in my reference that I'm using. When I do butterfly wings and, animal wings and things, or, anything that feels like it needs to have a directional brush stroke, I definitely will use a directional brush stroke. So I used it kind of like that on that one and like that on that one on these back wings. I know the direction that all of the marks are going to be going in, those the colored pattern marks. So knowing that, and knowing that there's going to be these veins and all kinds of stuff within these butterfly wings, if you start the process by using a directional brush stroke that's already kind of implying some of those veins and things of that nature, it just helps your process as you're going through the building of those decorative type of items or of those detailed type of textures and stuff. So that's why I like to use a directional brush stroke a lot to help me through my painting process. So that's looking good. I'm going to now wash and dry my brush and put my bright yellow or my light yellow that I created, that pastel yellow, is going to go in through this area, in through here. And again, just polka dotting it. I know I'm going to have lots of other stuff on top of this. I just wanted to have a nice light base, which is why I'm using a lot of white in this color. So when I do go to put the real color on these, or the kind of true color that I want, this yellow will help, or this light tone will help to bring out the vibrancy of that second layer that I'm going to be doing. And I'm just polka dotting it because I know that there's lots of texture on these little flower pieces. And then we're going to be using this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be finishing the stem and these background flowers over here. I'm going to be using my my medium brush. The colors that I'm going to use are white, yellow, and my phthalo green. And if I use any other colors, I'll let you know. So what I want to do here is I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight over here on the left-hand side, and just make sure that I have a good coat on here. I might even add a little glow on this right-hand side too, just to make sure that it pops out and it's visible in front of that background. So I'm going to start with a little bit of, I'm going to go yellow and white on my brush at the same time. And I'm just going to kind of go right down this left-hand side. Just kind of, you can go straight down. I'm going to just kind of tap it so it's got a little bit of visual texture to it as opposed to just being a straight line. Again, just because the photo I'm looking at feels like it's got a little bit of texture on the stem itself. So I'm just going with what I see in through here. So that's looking pretty good. I'm now going to pick up a little bit of my phthalo green on my dirty brush, because I know that I have that light mixture on my brush already. So this is going to add to it. That phthalo green is going to start to get a little bit brighter as I'm just kind of tapping this on in through here. And you can really make this as light or as noticeable as you want. I'm just giving it this little bit of a highlight over here on the left-hand side, allowing for it to be visibly noticeable. And then over on this right-hand side, I'm going to just put a tiny bit of water on my brush and kind of get rid of my chalk mark, come down this right-hand side, see if there's, yeah, I like that little tiny glow on that right-hand side too. Maybe just get it to be a little bit more visible. There we go. That looks pretty good. And now I'm going to just make sure that this center area is fully developed. I just picked up some more of the phthalo green, and with whatever remnants are on my brush, it's probably going to be a little bit lighter than the original tone, which is great. It'll just give me that extra bit of detailed information. And just bringing this over, just giving me kind of these little stripes down and through here. I'm now going to pick up I wipe my brush off, I'm picking up a touch of black paint just to kind of give myself a little bit more shadow right in this area as it's kind of meeting that round part of the flower. And if you had difficulty with seeing your stem in front of your background, it might just mean that you need a little bit more contrast. So either make your background a little bit lighter or your stem a little bit darker. I'm actually going to wash and dry my brush. I feel like I want a little bit lighter in that grassy area next to it. So I'm going to pick up a touch of yellow and white. And again, this is just one of those things that if you're going through your process and something is not standing out the way that you want it to, playing with that the contrast with whatever thing is next to it will help you to achieve that that visibility on particular objects. So if you wanted that stem to pop out a little bit more, you can make those that grass and stuff right next to it even lighter and brighter, and that's going to make that dark green stem pop out even more. So those are just, again, little tricks that will help you to elevate your painting a little bit more. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to wash and dry my brush, move over to those little flowers. So the flowers, I want them to be pretty yellow. So I'm going to start with just yellow on my brush. I already have a nice white base here. So once I put that yellow right on top of it, it's going to be very vibrant. And again, I want these kind of out of focus. So I'm going to just rub it, rub that yellow into kind of the grass around it, or that landscape around it. I'm going to leave some bright areas as well, some whiter areas in the center where I feel like it's going to be kissed by the sun. And again, just picking up a little bit of yellow, giving myself some yellow areas, putting a little bit in through there. I'm going to pick up some white now to tap into those the areas that I left white, and then I'm just kind of rubbing it out so these will end up looking out of focus. So that's my primary goal with these, is just to make sure that they're really soft and that they don't have crisp edges to them, so they don't steal the show from this guy here and they look like they're out of focus. So you could do them in a couple of different ways, but for me, just kind of getting those colors on there and almost just kind of scrubbing around those edges will get those edges to look softer and softer and blend into the background. I'm kind of going back and forth right now between my yellow and my white in order to accomplish the look that I want. I got too much yellow on my brush right now, and I want this one to be a little bit whiter. So I just washed my brush, picked up a little bit more white, and again, just kind of getting those edges to soften out and just almost disappear in that background. Picking up a little bit more yellow for these guys in through here, and then a little bit more white just to, I don't want these two in through here to look like much of anything. And if you liked these yellow flowers, you could really put them everywhere. Again, I'm just kind of making mine similar to the photo, but you could certainly make yours whatever way that you want. And then once you've got this done, we're going to use this same brush for the next step, so you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish our flower. So this will be this dark area, the petals, and then the top little stamen area. So I'm going to be using my medium brush. I'm going to use yellow, white, pink, brown, black, and my phthalo green color. Oh, and some blue too. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a whole lot of dimension in this dark area using my phthalo green and some blue and maybe a little bit of white. I'm going to put another layer on my petals using my hot pink, my fluorescent pink, maybe a little bit of my blue and some white, and we'll just make those come to life with vibrancy. And then in through here, we're going to add some dimension with some brown and black and yellow and white, and get all those little pieces to kind of have a lot of dimension to them. So I'm going to start down in through here. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of my phthalo green, and I'm going to give myself a couple little almost polka dotty kind of little marks in through here. I just put a little bit of the green and then just kind of rubbed it in a bit. I'm going to pick up a teeny tiny bit of white, and when I say teeny tiny bit, just a little tiny bit on your brush. It will go really far. You just want a little kind of hue of it in through there, just giving you a little bit of dimensional element to that piece. I'm now going to pick up some ultramarine blue on my dirty brush, and I'm going to put this bluish hue on some of this structure. So what this is going to do is just give it some volume without having to bring a much lighter tone to it. And you can keep building that blue until it is as vibrant as you want. It will, because it's on a black background, it will turn darker as it dries. So you just kind of keep building that, the thickness of the ultramarine blue, and it'll start to stand out as it layers itself upon itself. it will become less transparent. I'm just going to keep adding a little bit more down in through here, and I may just continue to add it as it dries, just to get it to be as vibrant as I want. So that's looking pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting some dark marks in this area in through here, and while those are drying, I'll work on the petals, and then we'll come back and put some final touches up there. So I'm just going to wipe my brush off on my paper towel. I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown and black on my brush, so brown and black, and I'm going to put almost like these little streaks in through here, just little pops of streaks. I even have some of my orange that's still wet, so I'm just kind of intermingling this with that. I'm just kind of streaking it through. Don't need to do much, just giving the viewer the information that these are kind of tall little pieces at the top of this flower. So I'm giving them that information by putting that vertical type of lines in there. And then if you want to, you can pop a little bit more black in between here. So these are little kind of polka dotty type of marks, and then these are more vertical or linear type of marks. I'm just going to close this off over in through here. I'm going to put a little bit of this brown and black right underneath, oops, not there, right underneath this edge right here. So this is just brown and black, and what this is doing is just giving the top part of the flower its dimensional element. So just kind of tapping this in through here. I'll also put a little bit in the interior. So again, this is just my brown and a little bit of black, giving myself some little dimensional marks in through there. So once I've got that on, I'm going to let that dry for a minute. I'm also going to put some more blue on here while as it's drying. I'm like, ooh, I want a little more of my blue in there. So just a little bit more blue, just to, you know, keep building that color as it's drying. I could use a little bit of white, but to help it along, but I'm gonna stick on this quest here and see if it does what I want it to do. If not, I'll resort to using a little white, but that's looking good. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm going to put my second coat on my petals. I'm going to be using my hot pink, and I'm going to add a touch of blue to it. So I've already pre-mixed a little bit on my palette here. It's very close to my hot pink, but I wanted a little bit of that blue in it as well. So I just took the fluorescent pink and added just a touch of the ultramarine blue in it, and it makes it a little bit more, I don't want to call it purpley, but definitely steers it a little bit more towards that realm. And then I'm going to take this color and just add another layer onto my petals. So these petals can be brighter in some areas, bluer in other areas. They can have you know, more of the pink showing on them, the fluorescent pink, which I will put in a minute, but I just wanted to put this second layer with a little bit of the blue in it in order to get another kind of tone in there. You could even streak it with a little bit of brown as well. So I'm also having a little bit of a trouble spot right in through here, so I'm going to pick up a touch of white on my brush so I can get this to have some good opacity. I'll come back with a darker color on top of it, but if you have trouble covering areas, because I had those blades of grass in through there, adding that bit of white to the equation to get it to cover better will help out. So that's that. I just picked back up my custom bluish pink, purpley light color, the one that I just made. And in through here, think of these petals as they're coming out the flower right at us. So I'm just going to kind of put, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that's a tip in through there. Maybe there's a tip over in through here. And if in my head I can envision what each one is, then it makes it easier to paint it. So for me, I say, okay, well, this is a petal coming right at me like that. And then this is a petal coming right, you know, maybe this one's turned a little bit to the left, and this little thing here is the tip of it. So I just talk to myself in my head as I'm doing this, and it helps me as I'm building these petals. It helps me to know where I want to put those highlights and the shadows. So this one itself is its own little guys, and this is where I can start to get rid of my guidelines. I got this guy in through here. I don't know why I'm calling them guys. So something like that. And again, I'm using my directional brush stroke, which is helping me to steer the paint in a direction that's believable for these petals kind of coming out of that flower. And they can be, you know, these side ones can look long because we're seeing them from the side. The ones coming straight at you are going to look short because we're not seeing the full length of them. And then I'm just going to bring this right behind that flower base and through there. And then I am going to put another layer on these petals, but I want to let them dry for a minute. I'm just going to put a little bit more white on this guy here. He's giving me a problem. So there we go. That'll help a little bit more on this guy here. And these will be my petals that are in the sunshine. we're gonna let them glow. There we go. And I'm gonna put another layer on in a minute, but just gonna let that dry for a second. While they're drying, I'm gonna go back up top to the tippy, this bright area in through here. So washing and drying my brush. I'm gonna pick up some of my chrome yellow. And I'm going to dot in this area with some chrome yellow. So I want this to be really vibrant, which is why I started it with that light yellow. And now that I've got that as a base, this vibrant tone from my chrome yellow is evident. And if you weren't able to get yours to be that bright, you could certainly just do another layer of white. Like I want to put, I'm pulling in dots of white to cover some of those green. I have a couple of little green spots still showing, so I'm just going to use my white as little highlights on those little green spots, and that'll make them go right away. They'll just disappear before your very eyes. So now I've got some vibrant yellow as well as some nice highlighted areas. I'm going to pull some of my orange into this area over in through here. I feel like I want to transition that like it's shadowed underneath my butterfly. So I'm going to put some of that orange in through here and just kind of transition this. It's going to have some shadowy stuff. I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown now, just to give a little bit more. This is all shadowed underneath the butterfly, which will make sense when we put the butterfly on, when we finish our little butterfly. But this is looking pretty good in through there. I feel like I want some more vibrant yellow, so I'm going to pick up a little bit more yellow and white and give myself a couple more pops of that in through here. And then I'll hit my petals one more time to just get them as bold as I want them to be. And of course you can do different colors. If you're going through yours and you feel that you want your flower to be, you know, blue, make it blue. You don't have to make it this exact color. You can steer yours into whatever is visibly, you know, appealing to you. That's going to be your call. I feel like I also want to do something a little bit more down in through here. I'm actually going to pick up my pink and my orange at the same time. I want some little extra pops in through here. Yeah, that works for me. Sometimes you just got to make up things on the fly. I just picked up again some of my orange and pink, just adding extra little texture in these guys in through here and getting rid of any little green spots from my background that I can see, because I can see them this close to my, as I'm this close to my painting. That looks good. Get rid of my guideline over there. I'm thinking we're doing good. We just need a little bit more on the petals, and then we can call it Yeah, that's looking fun. Maybe just a little bit more here. So my blue has totally disappeared so in here, so I am going to resort to blue plus a touch of white, not much white, just a itty bitty bit, just a itty bitty bit on my brush. I want this to have an effect, and my blue just disappeared all the way, so I put blue plus a tiny bit of white. And when I say tiny, it was just a dot on the tip of my brush in order to, I'll show you if I can get a little tiny dot. You could, again, pre-mix yourself a little bit, but if you just can control the quantity, you can get just that itty bitty bit on there, and it'll help you to make that blue a little bit more visible. And I just wanted a subtle effect. So now I'm going to do my another layer on my petals. This time, as I go through this, I'm going to add just a little bit of maybe shadow to them, and a little bit of a highlight just to get them to go where I wanted. I'm just erasing some of my chalk right now with a little bit of water on my brush, so that will not distract me as I'm finishing up these little petals. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to put, gosh, I really want to put a little bit of, I want to tie everything together. I'm going to pick up a little bit of my orange. I'm going to put a little bit of orange on this, a little bit of these tips, just a smudge, to give myself just a little bit of harmony with my colors. So I'm just kind of using my orange as a little bit of a additional tone onto these petals. And then in a second, I'm gonna, again, this is just adding a bit more oomph to it. Now I'm gonna pick up some of my blue, and I'm gonna put just a little kind of shadowy area. If anywhere that I want a shadow, I'm gonna pull this blue into it. So a little bit of blue is gonna give me a little bit of a shadow between my petals if I wanted it. If I didn't feel that it was going to be necessary, then I wouldn't do it. But I definitely on these front pieces feel like I need something to take away some of those harsh edges as it's coming towards me. So I'm just using that blue to maybe close off little gaps, add little shadows. And again, my blue is transparent, so it will take on the color underneath it. It's just helping me to add a little bit of a shadow where that petal meets the flower. Now I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going in for my final pass on these petals. These guys right here, I'm going to pick up my the pink with the blue that I used on this step to give, actually, let's go in for that magenta. There we go. I picked up that magenta-y color, so this is working out just fine as a highlight color on top of those. The other ones, I'm going to pick up just my fluorescent pink, and again, you could really make these into whatever shade you want. I'm probably going to work on these two petals a little bit more in a minute, but just kind of getting this brightness on these petals as they're popping right towards the viewer. Something like this. I got a little gap in through there I want to take care of. And you might find that as you're doing yours, you love the fluorescent pink and you want it more. So let it dry, do another layer. I'm actually going to pull in a little bit of white in order to get these to have a tiny bit of a highlight to them, but I'm really digging kind of this deep pink tone that I've created with these layers, because it's giving it this, you know, just kind of dark earthiness that I think is looking pretty cool. What else do I want to do? I think I need a little bit of my pink and my white. I just want to carry kind of this little bit of a highlight over. Since I've got it on these guys, I'm going to put a little bit on here too. So it looks like this corner is just catching a little bit of extra light in through here. And then I would definitely let mine dry. I might do a little bit more work on these couple of petals over on this side. But you could certainly, as you're going through yours, if you want to add more, subtract more, let it dry, see if there's any additional things that you want to do. And then we're going to be using this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, like I might add a little bit more dots in through here with the remnants on my brush. And then again, we'll be using this same brush for the next step. Just putting brown on my brush right now. So you can, when you're done, if you can ever get done, you can wash and dry this medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is the second step to our butterfly. I'm going to be using my medium brush. The colors that I'm going to use are fluorescent pink, yellow, white, brown, and that might be it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my little butterfly body in place, and I'm going to also be doing a second layer onto the wings, which is going to include a gradient of sort. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to put a little bit richer and darker of like an orange rusty color on the wing that's closer to the viewer. And I'm going to fade that up into this orangey type of a color. And then on this wing, we're going to make it a little bit lighter, and we'll be using that base orange that we created. Oh, we're going to use that base orange too. That base orange that we created plus some yellow and white. So what I'm first going to do is just put my body in place. I'm going to use a little bit of brown and white to just create a tan type of a color for my body to start. We'll put some little details on it later, but that's where I'm going to start, is just a little tan color. I'm going to have the head, we're just going to see a little part of the head, so I'm going to put it in through there. I think I actually want it a little bit lighter. I'm going to make my tan a little bit lighter with a little bit more white in it. So it'll be a nice opaque kind of base for us to build a little bit of detail on. So there we go. So there's where the head is going to be, somewhere in through here, just a little partial oval type of a shape, and then the body's going to be in through here. I'm going to bring it right up to that wing because it's going to be, we're only going to see part of it. And then I'm going to bring it kind of right into the edge of that flower. So it looks like it's just kind of hovering right. Well, it's not actually, it's kind of like landing, I think, because it's got the legs. We were going to put some legs that are kind of already in the flower. So this butterfly is in motion but landed. So we're going to just put that little tail part right in through there. I think that's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to be doing this back wing in through here with my custom orange, yellow, and white. And I'm going to have it kind of grade, have a gradient from this color up to like a light yellow, and then maybe a little bit lighter at the edges. So I'm going to use I should probably just use my light yellow color that we created for those flowers over there. So yellow and white will make that light yellow color. We can just use that as the mid-tone. I just made more, so now I'm going to wash and dry my brush. So I'm going to start with that orange color that we created. I'm going to just kind of clean up in through here where it meets there. And then as I go up and over, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up that light yellow color on my dirty brush. So I'm going to pick up some of that light yellow, and I'm going to create this gradient where it's going to get lighter and lighter up in this midsection. So again, still using a directional brush stroke so it blends in with that orange tone, but allowing for it to get lighter and lighter as it comes up towards the edge of that wing. And then I'm going to just kind of blend it out so it just kind of dissipates as it goes towards that tip. I'm going to pick up a little bit more white as I go towards that tip, so it gets a little bit brighter on the edge in through here. And again, we'll be doing lots of additional details. This is just going to kind of get us an easy way to build those decorative elements with this gradient underneath. So that looks good on that particular wing. I'm going to do the same thing on this guy in through here. So I'm just going to wipe my brush off because the colors are okay to touch each other. And actually this one, I take that back. I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm going to start with my light yellow right in through there. Right in this center area right in through here. So this is my light yellow. I'm going to bring this down here, and I'm going to go right up to this little intersection point and then just kind of blend it out. Something like this. We're going to have little streaks of the orange throughout it in a little while, but again, this is just kind of helping me with my thought process as to how I'm going to build those design elements. I just put a little bit more white on my brush, get this little edge of the wing like this, and then I'll blend it back into the wing like this, picking up a little bit more of that light yellow, get a little bit more of this vibrancy in this center area. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to do something similar on this one in through here, but I'm going to make a custom color. I'm going to wash and dry my brush. And I've already pre-mixed my custom color here. I'm going to call this dark orange, for lack of a better color name. So how I got to this was I used quite a bit of fluorescent pink, a little bit of yellow, not a lot, just a little bit of yellow, and then a little bit of brown. So the brown is going to deepen the tone. The yellow is going to make it look more orangey. It's a little bit too dark, so I'm going to bring in a little bit more of my pink and a touch more yellow. And you could also add a touch of white to it as well, but I don't think I'm going to need white at this point. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty good. And then once I've got this, and this is going to be the darker shade of the wing. So I'm going to have it on the side for that the viewer is on. This is where I can right now, if I want these two wings to look transparent and translucent, like we can see one underneath the other, I'm going to start with just pick one, and I can take this and give myself like a little bit of a line like this, and I can take this dark color and blend it back to the left like this, something like this, and then I'll overlap the other wing, and you'll see how because I've allowed for the transparency to stay here where it's darker there, and then it just kind of fades here. As I overlap the other wing, you'll be able to see the transparency, and you'll be able to see one laying on top of the other. I'm going to pick up with my dirty brush some of that orange color, the original orange color that we created, and I'm just going to make sure that I have, actually I'm picking up more of that, the custom color that we just made because I like it. So I'm going to just kind of get that going on in through here, picking up the orange color just as I'm getting towards the edge of this wing in through here. And again, I'm using a directional brush stroke, but I'm not living by it. It doesn't need to be exactly that prominent. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that light orange just to get the tip in through here. I suppose I could pick up a little bit of the light yellow, but I think I'll be able to get the details of this one with just painting the decorative elements. So now I'm going to just wipe my brush off. I'm going to pick back up some of that custom dark orange color that we created, and this is where I'm going to overlap my wings. So I can take from up in through here, and if I take this and kind of overlap it like this, you're going to now think, the viewer's going to think that these two are overlapping one another. So that's just a kind of a cool effect that you can emulate, especially on something that inherently has kind of a transparent effect to it, and you can kind of keep darkening one, or if it goes away. I just picked up a little bit of brown. You can enhance it by adding a little bit darker tone to it. So you can really amplify that kind of effect just by making it, having those two aspects kind of overlapping one another. And I just picked up my custom dark orange again, and I'm giving that gradient going up towards the top tip of the wing. So something like this. And then I'm going to pick up my custom orange to get this to blend in and get a little bit lighter up at the top of that wing, up and through there. And then we're going to be using our small brush for the next step. So once you've got this on, you can put this medium brush away, take out your small brush, and let me just get this little area up in through here. One more little layer in through here. There we go. And get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish our butterfly. I'm going to be using my small detail brush. The colors I'm using are black, white, brown, our dark orange, probably our light orange, our light yellow, brown. I think I called out all the colors I'm going to use. I'll let you know if I'm going to use any more. I might use my magenta color too, that first magenta that we used as a base coat for our petals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish my body. I'm going to put some little butterfly legs on. We'll put a little butterfly chest and a head and an antenna, and then we'll decorate the wings to make them all nice and beautiful. So I'm going to start with the body. I'm going to start with a little bit of brown paint on my brush just to kind of get the wings to just meld into that body a little bit. So just a little bit of brown, giving the just a little bit of a shadow as the wings meet the body. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of black paint now, and I'm going to put a little black area on the chest, something like this. This little butterfly has a little black chest, which I think is kind of cute, like it's got a little vest on or something. So we're gonna emulate it. So just a little black section in through there. I am going to now use a little bit of water and black paint. I'm thinning it out so I can put a big long antenna as well as some legs. So I have watered down black paint on my brush. You know what? Before I do that, let me finish the head and the body so that way I can overlap the antenna and the legs. I'm going to actually pick up my light orange color and my light yellow color to put on the head. So this is light orange and light yellow, so we can have a nice little vibrant area. Now I'm going to pick up that dark orange for the bottom part of the head in through here. It'll just give me some nice contrast and complementary to the body itself, or to the wings themselves. On the body in through here, I think this is where I'm going to pick up some of that magenta and white. The body of this particular butterfly kind of looked a little pinkish to me, so I'm going to use a little bit of that magenta and white just to give myself just a simple representation of what I was seeing on this little body in through there. I'm going to pick up a touch more brown just to give myself some dimension to it as well. So that's just a little bit of brown, giving myself just kind of little spotty type of marks so it doesn't look like it's just flat on there. So that looks good enough for me. Maybe a little shine on that chest. Now I'm going to start adding my my legs. So washing and drying my brush, I'm going to pick up that watered down black paint, and I'm going to give a big huge antenna. So this antenna is going to come pretty parallel or just horizontal from the head in through here. And I have a shaky hand, so I'm resting my hand on my canvas, and then right at the tip I'm just going to make it a little bit wider. So just kind of push my brush a little bit heavier at that tip. I'm going to do some legs here. Now the photograph that I'm looking at is very difficult to see where the legs are placed, so I'm going to kind of wing it a little bit. we're gonna put them where I think that they're supposed to be. So I know that there'd be one kind of coming out this back in through here. I can see this one in the photo, so we're gonna put this one like that, and it actually comes way down into here. So I'm gonna bring this down in kind of like this curved type of a way. And again, you can be as gentle and as delicate as you want, or make these very bold and visible. It's going to be wherever your comfort zone is. The butterfly legs, sometimes they're just really long and, you know, insect-like. So I'm going to go ahead and do another one. I feel like that one's on the other side of the body, so maybe I'd have one kind of coming out in a similar way in through here, and then maybe this one kind of just goes over somewhere in through there. I'm going to have a couple of little ones coming out the middle part of the body, maybe somewhere in through here. Oh, that my paint's a little bit too thick. There we go, something like this. I'm going to bring this maybe up like this, and then down into the flower, something like this, and then I'll have another one right next to it, as if it's coming from the other side of the body, like that. And there might be two more legs, but I can't really detect them in the photo, so I'm just going to kind of sketch a couple of little tiny ones kind of coming out up in through that area. And if I'm wrong, sorry. I think that's close enough. I'm going to put a tiny bit of white paint on my brush just to highlight the top of this antenna. A little bit of white paint in through there, and then maybe a little bit on the tip in through there, just to give it a little bit of dimension. So that's good for the body. I don't really need to do much more to that. So the wings themselves, what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline like where the veins are going to go, and then we'll make all the little polka dots and stuff. On the left, on the far wing, I'm going to use that dark orange color that we created, and in this stage I'm going to be using some water or thinning out my paint so I can get some fluid lines. So I'm going to start in through here and give myself a whole bunch of kind of curved type of lines. Like this is going to give me the initial kind of structure where I want these veins to be created. And you could certainly use, you know, brown. You could get a little bit more bold with your colors. I will add a little bit more into them in a bit, but right now just kind of getting these veins structure where I want them to be, and then I'll add I keep putting too much paint on my brush. My brush is not cooperating. That's all right. That happens every now and again, where you know, you think that it's going the way that you want, and then it's not going the way that you want. So we're going to have, I think actually, I feel like I want to go a little bit browner. I'm picking up a little bit of brown with that dark orange. I feel like this is not dark enough for me, so I just added a bit more brown to the equation. Yeah, that's looking better for me. And then we got maybe a couple up in through here. And so now that I've got that in through there, I'm going to do some like cross little veins. So I'll put some in through here, just kind of giving myself a little bit more of the vein structure. Maybe we've got one kind of coming down in through here. I think this needs to go all the way to there. That looks good. And we're going to have black lines and you know, some other stuff as well. I'm going to also put a little kind of cross or another little section of this burnt type of a color in through here. So it's looking good like that. And then maybe another one up in through here, just kind of dotting, well, not dotting, but maybe little dashes, curved lines here and there. That looks good. I'm going to do the same thing on this guy in through here. So just these little kind of curvy type of marks in through here, giving me that additional vein structure that I'm looking for. So something in through here as well. And of course, you'll be able to see this a little bit more as I develop it just a little bit more. I'm just widening this up a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit more of this color up in through here. So wherever you want this dark rusty color on this top one, you can go ahead and put it in. I'm thinking that that's looking as much as I want it up in through here. Maybe these guys are a little, that looks pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to use brown as my vein color for this one. So just loading my brush with some brown, and I'm going to do a similar kind of process. You could use the dark orange if you felt that that was going to be dark enough for you, but I'm feeling like I need a little bit darker of a tone in through here, so that's why I'm opting to use brown. And then we'll get both of the wings to tie together with their color. Oops, that was a little bit too bold on that one. We'll get them to tie together with their color schemes by adding some of this light yellow on this one, and they've got black that is going to be incorporated as well. So we've got this kind of coming like this, and again just adding these vein structure so I can get the decorative elements. That looks pretty good. Now what I'm going to do, I don't really, well, maybe I'll put a couple of the little, like I did on this side. One of the coolest things I think about butterflies is they look so different. One wing, the inside of the wing, always looks so different from the outside of the wing. So if you're going about from the outside of their wings. So if you're going about this and you're saying, gosh, mine just don't look the same from one side to the other, don't worry about it, because that's kind of the thing with butterfly wings. So I think it's a really cool thing, but you know, because it makes my painting process easier, because if I, you know, don't develop one exactly the way that it looks on the other side, it's okay, because that works. It works out that way when you're talking to the butterfly world. So I'm going to just kind of again use this little thought process to get these in through here and maybe down in through here. And I'm thinking that that's looking good. The rest is going to be black and the other things. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush now, and I'm going to put my black marks in play. So I'm going to use, again, watered down black paint, and I'm going to put a lot of black marks. So I'm going to go down the whole exterior edge of this one with just black paint. And again, watering it down or thinning it out is going to allow you to get these really slender type of lines. It'll allow that paint to sink right into the holes of the canvas. I'm going to bring this back into the body just a little bit and kind of pull it down as if it's, you know, meeting that shouldery kind of area. I'm also going to, since I did it on the outside of this one, I'm going to do it on the outside of this one over here. So again, this is just watered down black paint, giving myself this outline around the edge. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to outline the exterior edges as well, but I'm going to be more carefree about it because I'm going to have some white speckle marks as well. So as I do this, so I'm kind of coming and I'm just going to really loosely kind of give these curved type of lines. You can even bring it into, if you've got these little veiny type of areas, you can bring it in just a little bit deeper into those areas, and that's going to make it look a little bit more realistic. Again, using that watered down or thinned out paint will give you a better shot at getting you know, the paint to kind of sink into those little holes and stuff. This edge in through here, I don't necessarily want it too bold, so I'm just adding more water to my brush, so this can be here, but not maybe as thick or as dark as that one in through there, and that way it will do what I want it to do. In through here, I can go a little bit darker in through here, and again, give myself those little dips in those grooves, something like this, and then I'm going to put more little spots going along in through here. So I've got maybe a little spot here, a little spot there. You can make, there's, you know, have fun with it. There's all different areas that have these little speckle marks. I'm going to put one in through here, one in through here. And again, I'm kind of following the pattern of the photo that I'm using, but you could, as you're developing your own butterfly, you could certainly be much more carefree than I'm being. I'm just, you know, doing as I see. There's actually a big circular yellow spot that's going to go in this area and through here that's got a dark area around it, so I'm going to just kind of put that in there. There's another little dark area in through here, so there's a dark area up in through here, so I'm just kind of watching my photo and putting these dark little marks where I see them throughout the butterfly. There's a couple little circular ones down in through here, and then I've got this area kind of has another dark section in through here, so I'm going to put that and just bring it down towards this corner of the butterfly. I also see a couple of little dark areas in through here, so we're going to put those there. I'm putting more water on my brush because I feel like I want to give a darker area down in through here as well, so we can see the bottom of that butterfly. Maybe get a couple of these areas a little bit darker in through here as well. And then I'm gonna go ahead and move over to the other wing to put the rest of the black areas on the other wing. Maybe this needs a couple more in through here. I feel like I didn't put enough over in through here, so I'm putting more. There we go, that looks good. So the other one, I'm just gonna kind of, you know, do that messy kind of edge to it somewhere up in through here, just kind of, and pull it down into those little veins. And again, just kind of curving it and then pulling it down into those little veins. I'm staying away from this edge a little bit more so I can have that little brightness on the tip of it. I'm putting little dark stuff in where I had already put those little brown marks. There's a couple little polka dots kind of coming in through here, so I'm going to put those maybe a little bit here, a little bit there. And again, I'm just kind of freestyle, not totally freestyling, but making the marks very organic in nature, so they're not super perfect type of marks. They definitely are being created by a loose painterly brush stroke, but again, if you wanted yours to be super tight, you could really watch the photo and go for every single line and every single divot and every single mark exactly as the photo emulates it to be. That's totally up to you. It's wherever your painterly eye needs to take you to be satisfied. And again, just kind of following again loosely with the picture that I'm depicting. And again, there's no two butterflies that are exactly the same either. That's another beautiful thing about Mother Nature, is she creates everything individually, and it's all, everything has their own little you know, characteristics. And like, I'm sure if we saw this breed of butterfly, that they don't have the same exact markings from one butterfly to the next. I'm sure there's little differences between them as to where they're placed and things of that nature. So as you're doing yours, you know, don't feel the pressure that yours has to have every single mark in exactly the same spot that mine is. And of course, again, I'm using my creativity as well to make sure that I've maintaining a loose and fun painterly style. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to wash and dry my brush now, and I'm going to put some of that light yellow on to get to carry this light yellow over into this side over here. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to just kind of add it in these strategic spots, again, where I'm seeing it on the butterfly itself, kind of in between these vein marks, these big kind of where I put these curvy areas. There's a lot of that yellow in through there. There's some of this yellow in this area in through here. And again, making it into an exact replica is pretty awesome, but not necessary. So, you know, finding your fun place as you're painting, that's what I always strive for. I mean, I started painting as a coping mechanism for stressful times in my life. So I always look to painting as a place that brings me joy and happiness. And if I'm painting and I come to a place where I'm like, oh, I'm not, you know, it's stressing me out too much, I tend to, you know, back off that process and, you know, make it a little more simple or a little bit more pleasurable. I'm going into my original orange with that light yellow as I come down here because I feel like it gets a little bit darker down in through here. And then I'm going to bring some more of this light yellow over into here just to make sure that I've got these vibrant pops of it the way that I want. And I might even put a little bit of white in here as well. So again, just popping in this light yellow in through here. I've got some pops of the white at the tips, but if I feel that I need even more, I can certainly modify that. This is looking pretty. I love these summer colors too, so they're looking great. And then I feel like I want just a little bit of white over on the edge of this, so I just wipe my brush off. I'm picking up a little bit of white. I'm going to pop in just a little tiny couple of speckles, maybe over in through here, maybe on a couple of these guys, just popping little hints of white so it speaks to, you know, the other side being pretty similar, something like that. And I'm thinking that that's pretty good. I might step back from it, look at it from a distance, see if there's anything additional that I want to do. But I think I've got all the markings where I want them to be. I might pick up a little bit more of this rust color, just bring these in just a little bit further down into here. And then I would just kind of sit back, look at it for a minute, play with it if I want anything lighter or darker. And then we're going to be using this same small brush for the next step. So once you got your butterfly done, you can wash and dry that brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so we are on to the final step. This is the final step of every painting, which is to sign it. So I typically sign mine in the bottom left or the bottom right. I think I'm going bottom right on this one with black paint. I'm using my small detail brush. I like to sign mine with my initials, but you could certainly sign yours with your first name, or you could make up a fun symbol. You could really sign it however you want to have your identifying mark to be. It's your painting, and you get to mark it however you would like. And that's going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you painted yourself a beautiful spring, summer, vibrant, nature-oriented image, and I look forward to painting and sipping with you again sometime.